Napoleon Bonaparte's story began humbly, born on Corsica in 1769. His family were minor Italian nobility, and France had recently annexed Corsica. Young Napoleon received a French military education, and he was ambitious and very intelligent. The French Revolution created chaos and opportunity. Napoleon saw his chance to rise, displaying military skill at Toulon. In 1799, Napoleon seized power in a coup d'état, becoming first consul of France. He reformed the nation, creating the Napoleonic Code, and stabilized France. In 1804, he crowned himself emperor, leading his armies to stunning victories. By 1807, Napoleon dominated Europe with his formidable Grande Armée. Prussia was crushed, and Austria repeatedly humbled. Napoleon installed relatives as rulers, dissolving the Holy Roman Empire. Only Great Britain remained defiant, its Royal Navy ruling the seas. The Battle of Trafalgar in 1805 prevented a French invasion of Britain. To weaken Britain, Napoleon devised the Continental System, an embargo on British trade. The system harmed European economies, leading to widespread smuggling. Enforcing the system stretched Napoleon's resources thin. Resentment simmered across the continent. The Continental System strained European ports and industries. The British blockade hurt Europe, causing shortages of colonial goods. Economic hardship fueled political unrest and nationalism. The Peninsular War in Spain and Portugal drained resources. Napoleon's brother Joseph on the Spanish throne sparked a brutal guerrilla war. Tsar Alexander I of Russia grew wary as the policy damaged Russia's economy. Tensions between Napoleon and the Tsar increased. Napoleon felt he had to act as Tsar Alexander openly flouted the Continental System. Russia resumed trade with Britain in 1810, challenging Napoleon. He decided a military campaign was necessary, assembling the Grande Armée. Over 600,000 soldiers from France and allied nations gathered. The logistics of such a force was staggering, testing Napoleon's organizational skills. The decision to invade Russia in 1812 is considered his greatest blunder. Napoleon underestimated the vastness of Russia and the Russian winter. In June 1812, the invasion began, with the Grande Armée crossing the Niemen River. The Russians adopted a scorched earth policy, retreating and burning supplies. Napoleon's forces had to advance deeper, with long supply lines becoming vulnerable. Disease and desertion thinned the ranks. The first major confrontation came at Borodino in September, a brutal battle with heavy losses. Napoleon pressed on towards Moscow, entering the deserted city. Fires broke out, destroying much of Moscow and depriving the French of shelter. The Tsar refused to negotiate, and Napoleon's position became untenable. In October, Napoleon ordered the retreat, but winter set in. The retreat from Moscow was a catastrophe, with the Grande Armée virtually annihilated. The Russian winter of 1812 was unusually severe. Soldiers lacked adequate winter clothing, and food supplies ran out. Men starved or froze to death, while Russian partisans harassed the column. Discipline in the Grande Armée collapsed, becoming a desperate struggle for survival. The retreat from Moscow was a catastrophe, with the Grande Armée virtually annihilated. Of the over 600,000 who invaded, few returned. The loss of men and horses was staggering, crippling Napoleon's cavalry and artillery. The myth of Napoleonic invincibility was shattered. News of the disaster spread across Europe, signaling a turning point in his fortunes. The Russian disaster destroyed Napoleon's aura, encouraging his enemies. Prussia switched sides and declared war, joined by Sweden and Austria. A new coalition, the Sixth Coalition, formed against France. Napoleon hastily raised a new army, mainly of young, inexperienced conscripts. He won some minor victories initially, but his enemies were united and determined. The decisive battle came at Leipzig in October 1813, known as the Battle of Nations. Napoleon was defeated, forcing him to retreat into France. The Allies invaded France in early 1814, and Paris fell in March. Napoleon was forced to abdicate his throne and was exiled to Elba. The Bourbon monarchy was restored in France. But Napoleon's story was not quite over. He escaped Elba in 1815 for the 100 days before his final defeat at Waterloo. Napoleon was exiled to St. Helena, where he spent the rest of his life. The Congress of Vienna convened in 1814 to 1815, redrawing the map of Europe. European leaders aimed to create a lasting peace and restore old monarchies. France was stripped of its conquests and buffer states were created around its borders. The decisions made at Vienna shaped Europe for decades. The Napoleonic Wars had spread new ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Nationalism grew stronger, with Germans, Italians, and Poles feeling a new sense of nationhood. This desire for national unity and self-determination would lead to future conflicts and unifications. Britain emerged from the Napoleonic Wars supreme, its naval dominance unchallenged. Britain's industrial and commercial power grew, becoming the world's leading economic force. Napoleon's defeat secured this position, shifting the global balance of power. Napoleon's legacy remains complex as a military genius and a ruthless tyrant. His ambition ultimately led to his ruin, offering timeless lessons on overreach. The downfall of Napoleon led to major changes. The Congress of Vienna convened in 1814 to 1815, redrawing the map of Europe. European leaders aimed to create a lasting peace and restore old monarchies. France was stripped of its conquests, and buffer states were created around its borders. The decisions made at Vienna shaped Europe for decades. The Napoleonic Wars had spread new ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Nationalism grew stronger, with Germans, Italians, and Poles feeling a new sense of nationhood. This desire for national unity and